Number 6. Supervolcano eruptions. Underneath Yellowstone National Park, there's a magma chamber the size of the state of Rhode Island sitting there. It's mostly dismissed by scientists as the catastrophe that probably won't happen in your lifetime. The United States Geological Survey puts the annual eruption probability at roughly 1 in 730,000. The magma chamber is only 5 to 15% molten. It hasn't produced a super eruption in 640,000 years. So we're still about 100,000 years early for the next one. But if it did blow, it'll have a volcanic explosivity index of 8, which is considered a super eruption, matching with the largest eruption in history. Denver gets buried under meters of ash. Chicago gets a few centimeters. Agriculture across the entire continent will fail for multiple years because of sunlight blockage and soil contamination. Aviation collapses as the sky is filled with ash deposits. Power grids completely destroyed. No nuclear bomb in history has come close to that energy release. A supervolcano sitting dormant that can theoretically happen anytime. Millions would die and civilization would face unprecedented infrastructure strain that would take decades to rebuild. Number 5. Amazon rainforest dieback and savannization. The Amazon rainforest is the largest remaining tropical forest on the planet, covering over 2 million square miles of land. To put it into perspective, that is roughly 2/3 the size of the entire United States. And as you learned in school, through the process of photosynthesis, trees pull carbon dioxide from the air, produces oxygen, and cleans the air by filtering pollutants. The Amazon generates a large portion of its own rain, making it a self-sustaining biological ecosystem that is essential to Earth. It's pretty much Earth's regulating system that keeps everything running. Lose enough of it and the system starts to slowly and gradually break. Weather patterns shift, regional rainfall declines, droughts are longer, forest fires become more frequent and more severe. Scientists call this threshold Savannization. And in parts of southeastern Amazonia, it has already started. In that region, 28% of forest cover is gone. Dry seasons are 4 to 5 weeks longer. A study found that by 2050, between 10% and 47% of the entire forest will face compounding water stress severe enough to trigger irreversible damage. And the tipping trigger of 20 to 25% total deforestation is a line some zones are already crossing. When a forest absorbing nearly 2 billion tons of carbon dioxide per year flips into a net carbon source, it accelerates climate feedback loops for the entire planet. Let's become tree huggers and protect them trees. Number 4. The Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation Collapse. The Atlantic Ocean runs a planetary scale circulation system where warm tropical water flows north near the surface, cools as it reaches North Atlantic, grows dense and salty enough to sink, then returns south thousands of meters below as a cold current. This is the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, and it moves heat at roughly 1 quadrillion watts, about 50 times the total energy output of human civilization. And right now, it is slowing down. A 2024 study in Science Advances confirmed a physics-based early warning signal showing that it is already on course toward a tipping point with projected collapse around the 2050s. If it tips, northwestern Europe enters prolonged severe winters. Monsoons feeding billions across India and West Africa dramatically shifts. United States East Coast sea levels accelerate upward. And once an ocean circulation system collapses, it needs centuries of the right conditions to restart. So it's pretty much the Earth's thermoregulating process. Imagine being unable to sweat, you'll overheat and potentially die. Number 3, Greenland ice sheet irreversible melt. The Greenland ice sheet holds enough frozen water to raise global sea levels by roughly 7 meters, which is about 23 feet. Coastal megacities like Miami, Mumbai, Shanghai, Amsterdam, and Lower Manhattan will all join Atlantis underwater, and it's not a matter of if, but when. Because we may have already locked that future in without most people realizing it. The National Aeronautics and Space Administration satellites show Greenland shedding roughly 264 billion tons of ice every year. The tipping threshold, the warming level at which surface melt permanently outpaces accumulation, sits between 1.5 and 2.7 Celsius. We are at 1.3 and climbing. Once the feedback loop starts, warmer air melts the surface, dropping it to lower elevations where air is even warmer, accelerating the melt. The flooding arrives gradually across decades and centuries. There will be hundreds of millions of people eventually displaced, farmland swallowed, and a mass migration of people moving inward towards the center of the continents. Number 2, collapse of the coral reef ecosystem. Coral reefs cover less than 1% of the ocean floor, yet they support roughly 25% of all known marine species and directly sustain the food supply and livelihoods of 1 billion people worldwide. Scientists call them the rainforests of the sea, and much like actual rainforests, the world has spent decades watching them slowly disappear. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration confirmed the fourth global mass coral bleaching event in 2024, and by 2025, it had impacted 84% of the world's reef area across 83 countries. The first global bleaching in 1998 hit 21% of reefs, the second hit 37%, then 68%, and now 84%. When ocean temperatures increase 1 to 2 degrees Celsius above seasonal norms for a few weeks, corals eject the symbiotic algae keeping them alive, bleach white, and die under prolonged heat. The crisis grew so severe that the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration added 3 entirely new bleaching alert categories because the existing scale had run out of room. Without meaningful temperature reversal, annual mass bleaching across most reefs becomes reality by 2050. Fisheries will collapse, marine species will start going extinct, and a trillion-dollar ecosystem will go through a global restructure. It's crazy that we managed to destroy ocean's most diverse ecosystem in less than half a century. We should be ashamed of ourselves. Number 1, synthetic biology and engineered pathogen escape. Every other threat on this list operates on geological or climate timescales, meaning it happens slowly and gradually over a long period of time. But this one could happen today in any laboratory. Synthetic biology is one of the most scientific revolutions in human history. It gave us the tools to produce vaccines, new cancer therapies, and weapons against antibiotic resistance. With the acceleration of artificial intelligence, this same toolkit has lowered the barrier to engineering pathogens with properties nature never produced. A 2025 paper in Science found that existing DNA synthesis screening systems are now being outpaced by artificially generated protein designs that are functionally dangerous while appearing completely novel to any existing threat database. You cannot screen for something that has never existed before. Meanwhile, the number of high containment biosafety level 4 labs, which is the highest level of biocontainment designed for studying the world's most dangerous pathogens, has nearly doubled since 2010, expanding into countries with inconsistent biosafety standards. It's not that long ago the world experienced the coronavirus pandemic, and theoretically, we've doubled the risk. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe to see more.